Hasta la vista, fellow flight simmers from BMS, your Bavarian Mission Support. In today's episode, how to set up custom maps in Helios map viewer or map control. So let's get right into it. I'm opening the Helios Editor. In that whole tutorial, I'm not going over how to install a profile or anything like that, only how to edit it and get custom maps into the Falcon map component, which is either the BMS map control or the BMS map viewer. For this tutorial, I use the ICPD profile, which I already have installed. If you don't know how, there's a thread on the forum. You can download it, and within the download zip, there's a detailed install instruction. So let's get right into it. I'll open up the Falcon BMS CPD HPS, which is in my Documents Helios profiles folder, and that's the one for 3.7 with the old 3.7 cards or maps. So first of all, I want to open the maps component itself, and there I'll look here for the maps panel, double click that. Now I have the maps panel open, and basically that's the map component where we want to start changing maps. In order to be able to edit that on the layers tab, so if you don't have the layers or properties tab visual, you can open those here through the view menu. Can check if that's the right component by clicking on the eye, and in order to edit it, I have to click on the lock icon and unlock it. So now I can bring the layers out of view. No, I need to select the map controls. Okay, so now the map controls itself has basically two sections. One are the base maps, and one are the user-defined maps. For the next few minutes, I will go a little bit under the hood in how Helios is working. So if you're not interested in that little deep dive, I will put a section mark in the video where you can jump to when I come back and explain the setting up of the user defined maps itself. Okay, basically the map we see here is the Korea map, which is basically only a placeholder. So in the editor we can't change or view the other maps. We just know that they're there. Helios itself has, for the following old 3.7 theaters, maps included. The first part is basically which map is used, and the second part is basically how the theater is recognized. So the name of the theater where it's read from. We'll come back to that later when we set up the user maps. You can't change through the editor. Basically, you can't exchange those maps that are set up. You technically can, and that is the little deep dive I go into. So I'll open basically that's the code from Helios, which is openly available through GitHub. And within the Helios project, there's one project that is called Helios Falcon. That's basically the Falcon interface, and within the interface there is a subfolder maps, and within that subfolder maps we find all those base maps which are existing. So Israel, Korea, EMF, whatsoever. So if someone wants to change really the base maps, the only way to do is basically build your own Helios, or at least the Helios Falcon interface. Because if we look into where Helios is installed, let me quickly bring Explorer. So if I go to C, Programs, Helios, even if we search that folder, we won't find any of those maps, because those maps would be in plugins. They are basically integrated in that DLL file. So as we now know, we can't change from a user perspective easily the base maps. We need to use the functionality to set up own user maps. So back into the Helios editor. So that was the quick deep dive. So from now on, I'll go through the steps that have to be done in order to get a new user map installed. So first of all, what I do is I'll save the copy, or save a copy of the profile and rename it to CPT 438, because I want to set up the 438 maps. Save that. Okay, next is I need the maps. So the maps have to go into a following folder on my C drive, into documents. And in documents you will have a folder Helios, and in that you have a folder images, and somewhere in that folder you have to upload or to store your user maps. Can be directly in images. For the sake of clarity, I'll use a subfolder called maps. You're free to create subfolders per theater, or just put all the maps in there. The maps itself you can either take directly from BMS. So for Korea, for example, if you go into your Falcon BMS 438 docs folder, maps, and then there you have the available maps. What you should take care, you should take the 4K map. So a map for a Helios should have, from the size restrictions, a size of 4096 by 4096 pixels. Doesn't matter if it's a JPEG or a PNG, and bits, the size is what matters. Those files are quite large. If you care about performance, I put the link into the description down below. For another tool, I made some of the maps. They are basically the same maps that are used by BMS 438 with a reduced file size, And as I said, so there's for the sky vector map for Hellas, one for Balkans, one for KTO. So let's pick that KTO one. I'll download that and download it into my documents. Helios images maps and save it there. So now back into the editor. So first of all, we need to understand how that base map and naming feature theater name works. In order for Helios to pick up the correct theater and therefore show the correct map, it looks up in the registry which theater is currently loaded for BMS. And the theater name you can either get from the registry, but if you don't want to mess around with your registry, the easier way is you look it up in your BMS folder. So back to the BMS install folder. The info we are looking for is in data. For Korea, it's in tear data, theater definition, and then there's a TDF file, Korea TDF. If we open that with a text editor and bring that over, we will see it's usually the first line. There's a name tag, and that is how the theater is named. So for Korea, apparently Korea KTO. Let's look into another theater. We go back to data. Let's look into the Balkans. Add on Balkans, tear data, theater definition, Balkans TDF. Open that one. And the other name is Balkans. So that name we need to remember. Okay, then back in the editor. So first of all, we need basically to avoid Helios to load the base map, so the old 3.7 map, if the theater is named Korea or Korea KTO. Therefore, on the Korea part, I'll take out Korea. I could leave in red flag, but as I'm using that profile only for 438, I'll just replace that with XXX to make sure, because there will be no XXX theater, therefore the Korea base map will never be loaded. Next is here the theater name is already correctly set up for Korea KTO, so the only thing or the thing I have to do now is to point it to the map I want to use, which is in my documents, maps, and here I use the KTO 4K Sky Vector, a map that I previously downloaded. Open that one. So, and now that's only a one-timer, because all the user maps are preset with Korea KTO, and the pause is still mapping to the old base map. What we have to do is we have to delete all those ones. So, and save the profile. As I'm currently here, I will set up a second theater as well, which is Balkans. So type in Balkans here because we know the theater name for Balkans is Balkans, and I will point to the correct map, which is this one I want to use. And I have to make sure that Balkans is not recognized through the base name theater names. So I'll delete Balkans here and will basically do the same as with Korea, just replace it by something not meaningful, so not a theater name. Okay, now I'm gonna save my profile. Yes, yes, replace it, and close the editor or minimize and bring up the control center. There it is, and select my newly created Falcon BMS CPD 438. Start that one. Go to the maps data. Okay, nothing shown yet because in order to show the map, BMS has to deliver data. So I'll start up BMS. Select KTO first. So clock is running. So now committing to 3D. And as we can see, that's the new map. I can zoom out. Yeah, that's the sky vector map that we newly loaded, not the old one, and that matches as well the air bases and everything. So now let's check the second theater if that works as well. So I'll leave 3D. Okay, now switching to Balkans. Just quickly resetting, stopping the profile, and selecting Balkans, launching to make sure the switch in the registry happens, so Helios can pick up the new theater. Back to Helios, restarting my profile, going to the Maps tab, bring over BMS, take a campaign.
Beast 4 2 ship. Request taxi.
We have
Good morning, Beast 4. You are number 3 for departure. Hold present position.
Balkans map as
Warhawk 1
expected.
2 ship. Request taxi.
So, okay, so closing the profile. So last quick recap. So for both the map control as the map viewer component for BMS to change the maps, step 1, make sure the theater name you want to change is not listed under the base map theater names. Otherwise, anything you will do up there is ignored if the theater name is still down in one of those text boxes. So delete that. In the upper map, put in your theater name, point to the new theater, and make sure. So if I would, let's say, have Korea KTO here and pointing to a different map, it's basically sequentially. So the first one would be ignored and then the second occurrence. So this would still load the old base map because it maps into the base map into the DLL file. So make sure only those user maps that you can use, so from 201 to 208, the theater name is basically filled. That's it for that video, and as always, I'll be back soon.